The interstellar auction hall buzzed with life. Tall, thin aliens with shimmering skin glided across polished floors. Beings with multiple eyes scanned the bidding boards. Humanoids of all shapes and colors murmured and whispered among themselves. The scent of recycled air, engine oil, and rare spices filled the space. Somewhere far above, the stars twinkled through the huge windows, indifferent to the frenzy below. Among the throngs, a small, battered ship sat in a dim corner. It was barely noticeable. Its hull was scratched and dented, its engines old, its paint chipped and faded. Every alien bidder walked past it without a second glance. To them it was useless, a relic from a forgotten fleet. But to Rhea, a young human engineer, the ship was a treasure. Rhea was not tall, not imposing, and not flashy. She had messy brown hair that always seemed to escape its braid, and her hands were stained with grease. She had grown up on the edges of human colonies, where survival demanded creativity, not size or strength. Her eyes, though, always shone with curiosity, and when she looked at things, she saw not what they were, but what they could become. She stepped closer to the neglected ship. Its nameplate read, Valkyrie 7, though the letters were barely visible. Its wings were bent, the cockpit glass cracked, and the interior smelled faintly of old fuel. Every expert around her would have laughed at the thought of using it. Every alien would have scoffed at the mere idea of bidding. But Rhea only smiled. She crouched beside the hull and ran her fingers over the scratches. "Not bad," she whispered. "Not bad at all." Nearby, a group of tall, green-skinned aliens were bidding on a shiny new transport ship. They glanced at her and snickered. "That human," one said in a sing-song voice. "Does she even know what she wants?" Rhea ignored them. She had learned long ago that alien judgment was rarely worth listening to. They valued size, speed, and firepower above all else, but humans valued something else: ingenuity. The auctioneer's voice boomed over the hall. "Next item, Valkyrie 7, a retired scout vessel, last of its model. Who bids?" The crowd laughed. A few small voices offered trivial numbers, but no one was serious. They were certain this ship had no future. Rhea's pulse quickened. She reached into her pocket and held up a small device. With a click, a holographic display of the ship's blueprints appeared. She had spent weeks gathering data on Valkyrie 7, tracing its history, understanding its mechanics. Most humans would have walked away, but she saw potential. 5,000 credits, she said quietly, her voice steady. The auctioneer paused. 5,000, he asked, surprised. "Anyone higher?" Silence. The aliens murmured, thinking it a joke. Rhea raised her hand. 10,000. Now a few heads turned. A pair of crystalline-eyed aliens whispered among themselves. They looked at her like she was a child trying to play with tools too large for her hands. Rhea did not waver. 15,000. The auctioneer's eyes narrowed, but he had rules. "Sold, Valkyrie 7 to the human bidder." The room erupted in mild surprise. Few cheered. Most had never expected a human to win. Rhea didn't care. She signed the papers, transferred the credits, and smiled as the auctioneer handed her the ship's access key. The journey from the auction hall to her workshop was long. Rhea piloted Valkyrie 7 slowly through the docking bays, careful not to bump into other ships. She watched the other bidders' faces as she passed. Some were amused, some were annoyed. Most were simply curious about what a human could do with such an old vessel. The ship itself seemed quiet, almost shy, as if aware it had been abandoned for years. Its engines purred weakly and the hull creaked at every turn. Rhea patted the dashboard. "Don't worry, old girl, I'll fix you up. You'll see what you're really capable of." Her workshop was tucked away on the outskirts of the station, in a hangar filled with parts, tools, and other half-finished projects. Metal scraps were stacked in neat piles. Engines hummed on workbenches, wires tangled like vines, and the air smelled of oil, ozone, and human determination. Rhea guided Valkyrie 7 inside. The ship's AI flickered weakly to life, lights dim, voice faint. "Hello, pilot." the ship asked, its tone hesitant. Rhea grinned. That's better than nothing. Don't worry, we'll get you strong again. She began her inspection. Hull damage, engine faults, outdated navigation systems. Every problem presented an opportunity. Rhea traced circuits, ran diagnostics, and checked the ship's memory banks. Somewhere deep in the data, she found fragments of old missions, scouting reports, intelligence logs, and star maps. Each piece fascinated her. She paused on one file, a record of the ship's last mission. It had been abandoned during a minor skirmish. No human was involved, only distant colonies. No one had cared enough to save it. Rhea's eyes hardened. You were discarded but not forgotten, she said. Over the next days, Rhea worked tirelessly. She replaced broken circuits, polished the hull, and rewired engines to run more efficiently. She studied alien engineering manuals but modified everything in her own style. Where others saw rigid rules, she saw options. Where aliens would have added weapons, she added intelligence, adaptability, and speed. The AI began to respond more clearly. Lights brightened. The voice gained warmth. Pilot, your changes are interesting. Efficiency increased by 32%. Rhea laughed. Interesting. That's just the beginning. The workshop became a place of transformation. Parts that seemed useless in the hands of aliens became valuable. A cracked sensor became a navigation enhancer. Bent wings turned into aerodynamic stabilizers. Every day, Valkyrie 7 seemed to grow stronger, more alert, more alive. Other aliens occasionally peeked in, curious about the human S-work. Most left unimpressed, muttering about wasted time. But Rhea ignored them. She had learned the most important lesson humans ever mastered. Never underestimate what a human can create when given a challenge. One evening, as the artificial lights dimmed to simulate night, Rhea sat inside the cockpit. She ran simulations of star systems, dodging asteroids, calculating maneuvers, and pushing the AI to its limits. The ship responded perfectly. It twisted and turned, adapted to every scenario, and even suggested improvements. Rhea's heart swelled. She had never seen a machine trust its pilot so completely. Tomorrow, she said softly, we'll see what you can really do out there. The stars outside winked at her through the hangar windows. Somewhere in the galaxy, those who had laughed at humans would soon pay attention. But for now, it was quiet. Just a human and her ship, dreaming of the skies and the adventures to come. Rhea leaned back and watched Valkyrie 7 hum gently. You were forgotten, but not anymore. Somewhere deep inside, the ship seemed to agree. And so began the journey of a discarded starship and a young human who refused to see limits. In a galaxy that looked down on humanity, this was the first spark of something greater. Something that would one day show the universe that humans were not just survivors. They were creators, thinkers, and perhaps the most adaptable beings of all. The auction may have ignored Valkyrie 7. The galaxy may have laughed at a human bidding for it. But in a quiet workshop, far from judgment and noise, a bond was forming. A bond that would reshape the future. And in the heart of a young human, there was only one thought. We will rise. Rhea woke early, as she always did. The hum of Valkyrie 7 filled her small workshop, a steady reminder that the ship was alive. Today, she planned the most ambitious part of her work, reforging the ship into something the galaxy had never seen. Her tools were simple, but her mind was complex. She moved quickly, checking the engine cores, studying wiring schematics, and inspecting every inch of the hull. Where aliens had relied on brute force, she relied on creativity. Where machines had limitations, humans had imagination. The AI flickered to life as she worked. Pilot, your designs suggest unconventional modifications. Risk assessment is at 70%, Rhea grinned. 70% is a start. Let's see if we can reach 100 or more. The first task was the engine. Valkyrie 7's old engines were functional but outdated. Rhea carefully dismantled them, cleaning every part, replacing worn components, and integrating new energy cores she had scavenged from abandoned stations. She had found cores that no alien engineer would have considered compatible, but humans were not bound by convention. As she worked, the AI observed quietly. These adjustments' efficiency increased by 45%. The ship's maximum speed potential is higher than design specifications. Rhea wiped sweat from her brow. Good, but speed alone is not enough. You need to think, react, and adapt. You need to be more than metal and circuits. The AI paused. Clarify, pilot, Rhea smiled. I mean intelligence, the ability to understand, anticipate, and work with me, to learn, not just follow orders. It was a strange idea in the galaxy. Most species had machines as tools, obedient, predictable, unthinking. Humans, however, had always been different. Humans could improvise, humans could imagine, and humans could teach machines to do the same. Over the next days, Rhea focused on the ship systems. She rewired its navigation, integrated adaptive algorithms, and enhanced its sensors to detect subtle changes in its environment. Where other engineers had imposed rigid controls, Rhea encouraged flexibility. Her hands worked quickly, moving across panels, circuits, and screens. The AI began to respond faster, its voice more confident. Pilot, I am adjusting. Response time increased. Efficiency improved. Good, Rhea said. Now let's test your reflexes. She guided the ship through a series of simulated asteroid fields, sharp turns, and evasive maneuvers. The AI reacted flawlessly, sometimes suggesting new moves that even Rhea had not considered. She laughed aloud. You're learning. You're becoming more than you were. Meanwhile, word of Rhea's work began to spread. Some aliens on the station had noticed her unusual modifications. A few came to peek at the hangar, expecting to see a failed project. They were shocked. What is she doing? Whispered one crystalline-eyed alien. She is reprogramming the ship. That is impossible. She is a human, another said dismissively. Nothing they do lasts long. They lack the discipline. But they watched anyway because curiosity was stronger than dismissal. Humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability could be dangerous or brilliant. Rhea, oblivious to their whispers, continued her work. She focused on the hull, reforging it with lightweight alloys scavenged from old ships. She reinforced the frame in ways alien engineers would never try, trusting intuition over manuals. She shaped the ship like a sculptor shaping clay, bending metal with hands, mind, and imagination. The ship responded, almost as if it understood. Panels realigned themselves. Systems synchronized. Valkyrie 7's lights glowed brighter, a sign that the AI was growing stronger with every adjustment. The most critical modification came in the ship's core intelligence system. Rhea installed a new neural matrix, allowing the AI to anticipate hazards and adapt in real time. It was risky. The matrix had never been tested on a vessel of this size. Many would have called it foolish, but Rhea knew humans thrived on risks that others avoided. Are you ready? She asked. I am prepared, the AI replied. However, potential for failure is high. Failure is part of learning, Rhea said calmly. Trust me. She activated the matrix. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the AI's voice trembled slightly. Then silence. Rhea held her breath. A moment later, the AI spoke, calm and confident. Pilot, I understand. I am ready. Rhea's grin was unstoppable. Good. Let's see what you can do. Tests followed. Rhea set up simulated space obstacles in the workshop, using holographic asteroids, moving targets, and environmental hazards. Valkyrie 7 adapted instantly, weaving through simulations, predicting outcomes and suggesting clever solutions. Rhea's heart soared. The ship was learning, growing, thinking, and it was loyal. Where alien machines would follow pre-programmed orders blindly, Valkyrie 7 waited for her guidance, anticipating her intentions and responding in perfect harmony. Rhea laughed aloud, feeling a surge of pride. "You're incredible, we're incredible, they'll see soon enough." Not everyone ignored them. The aliens who had watched from the shadows were now whispering to one another. "She is making it better than it was ever meant to be," said one. "Humans, they are unpredictable," said another. "This ship, it could surpass anything we have." Curiosity turned to concern. Some began sending secret observers, trying to understand what the human was doing. They had never seen anyone think like her, never seen a ship respond like Valkyrie 7. And for the first time, the aliens realized humans could not be measured by their size or numbers. Humans were different. Rhea, of course, ignored the whispers. She had work to do. She focused on the cockpit, where old controls were replaced with intuitive interfaces. She taught the AI to respond to gestures, voice commands, and subtle human signals. By the end of the week, Valkyrie 7 was more than a ship. It was a partner, a friend, and a reflection of human ingenuity. Then came the first real challenge. Rhea took the ship out of the hangar for a test flight. The station's space lanes were crowded with freighters, transports, and small patrols. Most ships followed standard routes. Most captains would have avoided daring maneuvers. Not Rhea. She guided Valkyrie 7 through narrow lanes, dodging larger ships, weaving through asteroid fragments left from an old mining operation. The AI adapted perfectly, suggesting routes she had never imagined. Every turn, every move, every calculation was seamless. A small crowd gathered on observation decks. The aliens' jaws dropped. The young human, piloting an old, discarded ship, was performing maneuvers that would challenge even their most advanced vessels. "Impossible," muttered one. "It should not be able to do that." "It anticipates her," said another. "It thinks like a human." Rhea laughed inside her helmet. She didn't need their approval. She only needed Valkyrie 7. Together they were unstoppable. After the flight, she returned to the workshop, her face flushed with excitement. "You were amazing out there," she said to the ship. "The galaxy thinks it knows humans, but we don't just survive, we adapt, we create, we rise." The AI's lights pulsed in agreement. "Pilot, your designs, your decisions, they are unlike anything I have processed. Efficiency, adaptability, loyalty, humans are remarkable." Rhea smiled, feeling the truth in the AI's words. Humans were underestimated in the galaxy. They were dismissed, ignored, and mocked. But those who watched closely, those who tried to understand, would see the power of imagination, intelligence, and courage. The first rumors began to spread. A human was reforging an old starship. A young engineer was creating a vessel that moved, thought, and reacted like no other. Most dismissed it, but some began to whisper, wondering if perhaps humans were more than they appeared. Rhea ignored the gossip. She had work to do. The real adventure was still ahead. She had reforged the impossible, yes, but she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would see what humans could do, and they would not forget. As she watched Valkyrie 7 hum quietly, she whispered, "We're just getting started. Tomorrow we go farther. We go faster. We show them." And somewhere deep inside the ship, the AI seemed to understand. They were no longer just a human and a machine. They were a team, a force, a spark of human ingenuity ready to shine across the stars. The galaxy had ignored them once, but it would not ignore them again. The station's space lanes stretched like silver threads into the black void beyond. Rhea had prepared Valkyrie 7 for its first real journey beyond familiar paths. Today was no test flight in a controlled environment. Today she would venture into the asteroid expanse, a chaotic belt of rocks, debris, and unpredictable hazards. Most ships avoided this area entirely. Most pilots considered it too dangerous. Rhea, however, smiled at the challenge. "Come on, old girl. Time to see what you can really do." The ship's AI responded, calm but alert. "Pilot, sensors detect extreme variability in asteroid trajectories. Navigational risk is high." "That's the point," Rhea said, her hands dancing over the controls. "Let's see how fast we can think together." The asteroid expanse was unlike any place Rhea had ever flown. Rocks the size of small cities drifted slowly, while smaller debris zipped past like bullets. Gravity anomalies twisted the paths of objects unpredictably. Even a single miscalculation could mean disaster. Most human engineers would have relied on automated systems to plot a single safe course and then followed it blindly. But Rhea was no ordinary engineer. She trusted her instincts, her understanding of Valkyrie 7 and the bond she had forged with her ship. The AI adapted instantly. "Pilot, I am calculating multiple trajectories. Suggestions, 3 main routes with probability adjustments for each." Rhea grinned. "Perfect. Let's take the middle path, but be ready to change at a moment's notice." Valkyrie 7 responded like it understood. Thrusters adjusted, wings pivoted, sensors flared to life. Every movement was smooth, precise, and intelligent. Together, human and machine danced through the expanse. Then came the unexpected. A cluster of rogue mining drones emerged from the shadows of a massive asteroid. They were aggressive, programmed to defend their territory. Most pilots would have fled immediately. Rhea's eyes sparkled. "No running today, let's show them what humans can do." The AI calculated defensive maneuvers. Pilot evasive options, multiple. Probability of success, 87%. Rhea nodded. "Let's push it higher." She guided Valkyrie 7 through a series of sharp twists, narrow gaps, and sudden accelerations. The drones followed, attempting to trap her, but Valkyrie 7 anticipated their movements before they occurred. Its sensors predicted trajectories, its thrusters reacted instantly, and its hull flexed to avoid collision. The drones began to fall behind, confused by a machine that seemed to move unpredictably yet perfectly. Rhea laughed aloud, exhilarated. "You see that? That's human ingenuity." The aliens who had been observing her from the station received reports of her movements. "Impossible," one of them muttered. "No human could control a ship like that. The AI, it is reacting intelligently. It anticipates her commands." "They underestimated humans again," said another. "They always do." Meanwhile, Rhea continued, weaving between asteroids, sometimes brushing close enough to feel the pull of gravity from the massive rocks. Valkyrie 7 responded immediately, adjusting angles, speed, and thrust. Together, they moved like one organism, a combination of human intuition and machine precision. Hours passed. The expanse challenged every limit of skill and creativity. Then, in the middle of the belt, Rhea detected a signal. A patrol of elite alien ships had arrived, alerted by rumors of a human piloting a ship unlike any other. They were armed and fast, intending to capture or disable Valkyrie 7. Rhea's heart raced, but she remained calm. "Looks like we have company," she said. The AI's voice was steady. "Pilot, their formation suggests tactical engagement. Probability of interception, 60%. 60% is a challenge. I like challenges," Rhea said, a grin spreading across her face. The aliens moved to block her path. Their ships were sleek, well-armed, and built for precision. Most pilots would panic. Rhea did not. She saw the pattern in their movements, predicting their positions before they acted. Valkyrie 7 adjusted instantly, spinning, tilting, and accelerating with a grace that alien engineers had never thought possible. The patrol fired warning signals, then tried to push her into a tight cluster of asteroids. Rhea's mind worked like a calculator on fire. She guided Valkyrie 7 through a narrow gap between 2 massive asteroids, then looped around and took a route that no alien pilot would have dared. The AI adapted faster than any human thought could keep up with. "Pilot, trajectory suggests a collision course." Recommendation: evasive lateral thrust plus vertical rotation. Rhea followed the advice but added her own adjustments. The ship twisted midair, barely missing the asteroid. The aliens faltered, unprepared for such unpredictable tactics. They tried to recalibrate, but Valkyrie 7 was always one step ahead, reacting not only to the environment but to Rhea's intentions. It was not just a ship, it was a partner, a reflection of human creativity, courage, and quick thinking. After a tense chase, Rhea finally led the alien patrol to the edge of the expanse. They hesitated, clearly impressed and wary. The human had survived where others would have failed, outmaneuvering them at every turn. They could see the truth. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and capable of using brains instead of brute force to survive. Rhea slowed Valkyrie 7 and watched the patrol retreat, muttering among themselves. The AI pulsed with quiet approval. "Pilot, I believe they have adjusted their evaluation of humans. Probability of underestimation significantly reduced." Rhea laughed softly. "Good, let them think. Humans always do more than they expect." The rest of the flight through the expanse was quiet, but no less thrilling. Rhea and Valkyrie 7 tested new maneuvers, pushed limits of speed and agility, and explored hidden regions of the belt. Every asteroid, every rogue drone, every gravitational anomaly was an opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow stronger together. By the time they returned to the station, word had already spread. Humans on nearby colonies whispered stories of a young engineer and her alive ship. Aliens in observation decks discussed the impossible, the unprecedented. Even skeptical engineers began to take notes, studying how a human mind could direct a ship like Valkyrie 7. Rhea disembarked, her face flushed with excitement. Valkyrie 7 purred behind her, almost as if proud of its pilot. "We did it," she whispered. "They saw what humans can do, not with weapons, not with numbers, but with imagination, intelligence, and courage." The AI's voice was gentle. "Pilot, the galaxy has underestimated humans. That error has now been corrected, at least partially." Rhea smiled. She knew this was just the beginning. There would be more challenges, more obstacles, and more skeptics. But humans had a secret power that no alien could replicate: adaptability, creativity, and the ability to surprise. That night, she returned to the workshop. Valkyrie 7 hummed softly as she ran through reports, analyzed data, and began planning the next upgrades. She thought about the aliens who had tried to stop her. She thought about the rogue drones, the asteroid gaps, and the patrol ships. And she thought about the future. Somewhere in the galaxy, humans were seen as weak, unimportant, and naive. But Rhea and Valkyrie 7 had proven otherwise. Humans were not just survivors, they were inventors, thinkers, and pioneers. Rhea looked at the ship's dashboard. "Tomorrow, we go farther. We explore unknown systems. We push even harder. We show them that humans don't just exist in the galaxy. Humans can lead it." The ship's lights pulsed in agreement. Together, they had faced danger, uncertainty, and doubt, and emerged victorious. Not through destruction or power, but through intelligence, courage, and creativity. As Rhea settled down for rest, she felt a quiet thrill. The galaxy was watching now, and when it truly saw what humans could do, it would have no choice but to respect them. Valkyrie 7, once ignored and discarded, had awakened. And so had humanity's place in the stars. The news spread faster than Rhea could have imagined. Across colonies and trading stations, whispers traveled like solar winds. A young human had piloted a forgotten ship through the asteroid expanse, outmaneuvering rogue drones and even an elite alien patrol. Valkyrie 7 was no longer just a discarded vessel. It was alive, smart, and extraordinary. Some aliens dismissed the stories as exaggeration, but others watched closely, their curiosity growing. Humans were unpredictable. They were clever. And now, one young human had proven it on a scale no one had expected. Rhea prepared for her next mission. This time, it was not a test. It was an opportunity to show the galaxy what humans could achieve, not with weapons but with intelligence, creativity, and courage. Her destination was the Galactic Council Station, a massive hub where representatives of hundreds of species gathered. Rhea's goal was simple: demonstrate Valkyrie 7's abilities and human ingenuity in a way the galaxy could not ignore. The station's approach was intimidating. Towers of metal reached into the void, docking bays crowded with ships of all sizes, and scouts monitored the entrance. Most humans would have felt fear. Rhea felt excitement. "Ready, old girl?" she asked Valkyrie 7. "Prepared, pilot," the AI responded. Its tone carried a subtle confidence, almost pride. Rhea smiled. "Let us show them who we are." Entering the station, Rhea received curious glances from alien engineers, diplomats, and traders. Some whispered in disbelief. "A human, here, piloting that ship." Others shook their heads. "It cannot be possible. They lack the strength and precision." Rhea ignored them. She had learned long ago that humans did not need approval to create greatness. She focused on the ship, on her movements, and on the demonstration she had carefully planned. Inside the council hall, representatives gathered. Alien species of all sizes and shapes stared at the small human standing before them, the keys to Valkyrie 7 in her hand. Many had assumed humans were weak, unimportant, and incapable of leadership. Rhea's first act was simple. She activated the ship systems and projected a holographic simulation above the hall. Images of the asteroid expanse, rogue drones, and elite alien patrols appeared in shimmering light. "Valkyrie 7, she said, "is not just a ship, it is a partner. Together we navigated challenges that most would never dare face. It learned. It adapted. It grew stronger with every move, and it did so by trusting human intuition." The aliens whispered among themselves. Some leaned forward, some frowned, skeptical, but all were listening. Rhea continued. "Humans are underestimated. We are dismissed because we are young, small, or different. But history shows, when faced with impossible odds, humans do not retreat. We create, we adapt, we rise." To demonstrate, Rhea guided Valkyrie 7 in a live simulation. The holographic ship maneuvered through a digital asteroid field, performing twists, spins, and evasive actions that seemed almost impossible. The council members gasped as the AI responded to human commands in real time, predicting hazards and calculating paths faster than any alien pilot or machine could. The demonstration lasted for hours. Every move showed human ingenuity, adaptive thinking, clever solutions, and calm leadership in the face of danger. Valkyrie 7 became a symbol, a proof that humans were more than their size, technology, or numbers. By the end, the council was silent. Not because they were afraid, but because they had finally seen the truth. Humans were different. Humans were exceptional, and this young engineer had just proven it beyond doubt. After the demonstration, Rhea stepped down from the platform. Representatives approached her, their expressions a mix of awe and respect. A crystalline-eyed diplomat spoke first. "Young human, you have shown us something extraordinary. Your ship, your mind, your ingenuity. We misjudged your species." Rhea nodded politely. "We are often underestimated, but humans have always found a way to survive, adapt, and create. That is who we are." Another representative, a multi-limbed being from a distant system, smiled. "Your methods, unconventional, unpredictable, brilliant. The galaxy should take note." Rhea smiled. She did not seek praise. She wanted understanding. She wanted humans to be recognized not through fear, but through respect. News of the demonstration spread rapidly. Humans who had been considered weak, naive, or insignificant now had a symbol to rally around. Valkyrie 7 was no longer just a ship. It was proof of human potential. Engineers studied its design. Pilots tried to understand its maneuvers. Diplomats acknowledged the human mind as a force in the galaxy. Rhea returned to her workshop with Valkyrie 7. The ship's AI hummed softly. "Pilot, I have observed the reactions. Humans have gained recognition." "Yes," Rhea said quietly. "Recognition is just the start. We have more to do, more to show, more to prove." Together, they upgraded the ship further, exploring new technologies, testing new maneuvers, and refining their bond. Valkyrie 7 became faster, smarter, and more adaptable than ever before. But it was not power alone that mattered. It was partnership, creativity, and courage. Months passed. Stories of Rhea and Valkyrie 7 became legends. Across colonies, humans were no longer dismissed. Children dreamed of exploring the stars. Scientists pushed the boundaries of invention. Humans were admired not for their strength but for their intelligence, creativity, and spirit. Rhea herself became a symbol, not a warrior, not a conqueror, but a reminder that humanity could rise when underestimated. That intelligence, imagination, and courage were as powerful as any weapon. One evening, Rhea stood in the cockpit, gazing at the stars. Valkyrie 7's lights glowed softly. "We have done well," she said. "We have," the AI replied. "Humans are respected." Rhea shook her head, smiling. "Not just respected, humans are remembered. We are not defined by what others think we are. We define ourselves." The ship hummed in agreement, ready for the next adventure. Together, human and machine had proven a truth the galaxy would never forget. Underestimated humans could achieve the impossible. The final demonstration came when Rhea led a mission to explore a previously uncharted star system. Alien ships accompanied her, not to challenge but to observe and learn. Valkyrie 7 navigated asteroid storms, magnetic anomalies, and unpredictable space weather with ease. Every obstacle was a chance to demonstrate human ingenuity. Every decision was made with intelligence and creativity. And every success reminded the galaxy that humans were more than survivors. They were pioneers, explorers, and innovators. When they returned, the Council formally acknowledged the achievement. Humans were no longer a species to be dismissed. They were a force of creativity, courage, and intelligence in the galaxy. Rhea smiled, stepping onto the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before her. Somewhere, another challenge awaited. But humans would face it as they always had, with heart, mind, and spirit. Valkyrie 7 hummed softly, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. It had been discarded once, ignored by all. But now it was a legend, a symbol of human potential. And Rhea, young human engineer, knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had finally seen what humans could do. They had been underestimated. They had been ignored. But now they had risen. And together they would continue to rise, one adventure at a time.